Awesome. Perfect. So hi everyone. Welcome. And I am super excited to have you guys here with me tonight. We're going to be talking about how herbal medicine can help you regain clarity for the new year. And like I was saying before, this, we have this really specific topic, but really in reality, we are constantly being hit with perturbation issues and, things that we struggle with either physically, spiritually, emotionally, that kind of throw us off. And so the things that we're talking about tonight really can be applied across the board in your life, as far as tools to be able to help you, figure out what you need.
It's not that I don't want to.
Ways to, utilize those things and be able to figure out what herbs you need to take, or, what part of this is a mind thing that's causing a body issue, or what kind of, like you eat a bunch of junk food for the holidays and your body starts to feel sluggish and slow and you sit around a lot. And so you can get digestive stagnation from eating a bunch of rich, fatty foods. And so being able to kind of pinpoint what happened and kind of how you went off course, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, all the ways, can be really important. So we're going to kind of cover that. So yeah, let's get into it. So what we're going to learn tonight. So kind of my stitch is you can't really vision your future when your creature comforts and immediate needs are not being met. So, if you're not feeling vibrant and healthy, then you're not going to be able to think about what you want to do next year. And that kind of goes for any area of your life. Like if you're hungry or tired or angry or lonely, it's really hard to think to the future. Those needs need to be met. And then when your level of vibrancy goes up, then you're more able to, and more resourced physically, mentally, in order to be able to vision things. So we're going to be covering and talking about kind of the three primary tools, really four primary tools that I use to kind of figure out what's going on with me, what I need, and then being able to pinpoint that. And this is from my own work, my own kind of ways of dealing with my own trauma, and then also in experience with seeing a lot of people in clinic work and kind of being exposed to a lot of people's stories and trauma and issues, and kind of figuring out and processing and digesting that, and then coming through the other side with tools. Worked for me and worked for some of my clients. So we're also going to be covering herbal medicine and lifestyle for the body, herbal medicine and lifestyle for the mind, and herbal medicine and lifestyle for the heart. So, and we'll get more into kind of my framework for working with the nervous system, and burnout and exhaustion and all of these things that I'm talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about what I call shrinking the change.
What? Do you want this back? No, I got plenty.
Hey guys, sometimes with this webinar, I was not able to mute everybody. So if you can just try to mute yourselves. I think I found the two people. Okay. So we're going to be talking about shrinking the change, which is a concept that we use in lifestyle medicine. And then herbal ritual as a lifeline for health. And then how you can continue to learn and grow in the path of herbalism. So a little bit about me. I'm a clinical functional herbalist. So I have a BS in biology and environmental studies minor. I graduated from technically 3 herb schools: Southeastern Institute for Herbal Studies with Daryl Patton, I have my functional herbalist certificate, and I graduated from the Eclectic School of Herbal Medicine, and I teach for them occasionally. I also graduated with a level 1 certification in aromatherapy from the New York Institute of Aromatic Studies. I'm a registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild. I did clinic work for 9 years, and I've seen over 700 people in a clinical setting. And then I've been an herbalist and or training as an herbalist for 14 years, and I have about 5,000 hours worth of study. So I've been doing this a while, and yeah. So my philosophy on the nervous system and the full body, yes and no. So there are a lot of ways that we can relate to and address the nervous system. We can talk about it from a spiritual perspective. We can talk about it from like go straight to the physiology and talk about vagal nerve responses. We can talk about adverse childhood experiences. We can talk about resiliency scores. We can nerd out about all of this stuff. But I think a lot of times it just kind of boils down to, especially in experiences of trauma, that our nervous system, our experience is that our nervous system runs us. We don't run our nervous system. And that becomes problematic in that we need to have an internal loci of control, meaning we need to put ourselves in the driver's seat of our lives. It really sucks when your nervous system hijacks you and you end up with anxiety and panic attacks and all of these issues because of previous experiences, subconscious experiences, conscious experiences, and stressors. All of these things really they program our nervous system to react in certain ways, and it can be really terrible when we are unable to control our nervous system and it's kind of hijacking us regularly. So and another thing that I think is important to note is we can have a reaction to like something that's a scent memory, or a reaction to something that is a physical body memory, or something that is a way something made us feel. And sometimes when working with or dealing with trauma and or imbalances in whatever way, be it the holidays where we run into people we don't always get along with, or we're forced to be in situations with family that maybe are not as supportive or don't see us, as in they cannot experience us as we are, or situations where we're grieving the loss of a holiday as it was, or a person who's no longer with us, or a family experience that we no longer have access to. And all of these things can kind of, it's difficult to parse through as a human being to decide whether, is this real? Is this imagined? Is this somatic? Is this spiritual? Is this, it could be any number of things. So kind of through my experiences, I sort of have kind of come up with some tools that really have helped me. And these are the 3/4. So the full body, yes or no. So when working with the nervous system, I found that tangibly we have the mind, the heart, and the body. And you can physically be super into the ice cream that you're about to eat. And you can go to the fridge and be like, I want this ice cream. And then you can do a scan and do, okay, does my brain want the ice cream? Does my heart want the ice cream? Does my body want the ice cream? And you literally, if you listen and you sit with it, you might get that your brain wants it, your heart wants it, but your body doesn't want it. You can get a full body, yes or a full body no. You can get a partial yes or a partial no. And this can be used for everything from what you want for dinner to whether you want to be in a relationship with somebody. It can be, you know, it's an incredible decision-making tool because it distills down what your true wants and needs are to these 3 areas. And it really helps you be able to clarify what you need. So my, like it can be like, do I want to do yoga or do I want to go for a run? And then I can go through and check, okay, my brain really wants a run. My heart really wants a run. But my body is feeling tired. So, I just want you guys to play with it. It seems like a weird concept. Shoot me some messages in the chat if you think like I would love your opinion, but the full body yes or no, like if you don't get a full body yes, then it's a no, right? And I think another thing that I found interesting when playing with this and working with this concept is that I can lie to myself about my own consent to do something, if that makes sense, which is like a crazy concept. My heart might want something, but my brain and body say no. And if I make myself do it, then I am not honoring and valuing my own consent. So there's that. I love that idea, that concept. It helps me so often when I'm feeling really conflicted about something. And it also can kind of help me make decisions as to like what I need to dig around in to figure out what is going on with me. And that kind of brings me to my second thing. So if you get like a partial yes or a partial no, or you're getting a full body yes, but your nervous system feels like it's being reactionary to something, I always do the dip your toe in. So come up with some way to piecemeal that experience. Be it like, like have a nibble of the ice cream and then be like, how did that feel? Like, is it a mental yes or a, you know, a mind yes, a heart yes, a body yes? And then if it's still a full body yes, but you're having nervous system reactions, then I recommend 4-7-8 back off, number 1. And then I recommend 4-7-8 breathing. So this is particularly effective for like trauma associated with like phobias or sexual trauma. I'm trying to think of another example that's not so serious so that we can talk about it. But I hope you guys are just hanging with me. So, you know, this could be like, you know, and really in as far as the context we're working with today is like, how am I feeling unbalanced due to the holiday season? What do I need right now? And, you know, if you want a salad, you're going to eat a couple bites, be like, okay, how does that feel? If you're like, salad, then you're going to do 4. If a salad brings you anxiety, you're going to do 4-7-8 breathing. So we haven't talked about 4-7-8 breathing. So 4-7-8 breathing is breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, exhale for 8 counts. It is incredibly relaxing, especially particularly for physical tension that's causing amped up and ramped up anxiety, stress, mental anxiety, and mental stress. I love it for going to sleep. I love it for deeply calming you down rapidly. I like it for high intensity intermittent interval training. I use it for that to decrease my cardiovascular output and regain breathing control in a shorter amount of time when I'm doing sprints in the gym. So yeah. So doing the full body yes, dipping your toe in, and then doing 4-7-8 breathing if you're still getting a full body yes. And then we have herbs. So and this goes for consenting with herbs. So sometimes people, when they have really sensitive nervous systems, when you facilitate certain nervous system states, the body will feel agitated because that state does not feel good, because it does not relaxed states often when there's trauma involved don't necessarily feel good. But we know that being calm is good for us and feels good on certain levels. So herbs, you can get like a no when you're maybe you're smelling an herb and you're asking, like, does this herb feel good for me? Is it a mind? Yes. Is it a body? Yes. Is it a heart? Yes. And sometimes you'll get no's. And then you can kind of back off and be like, if I just smell this herb, how does that land? If I put it on my pulse points on my wrist, how does that land? If I just take one drop, how does that feel? Because we don't want to shove somebody. I'm just coming up with an analogy of somebody who's scared of water and can't swim. You don't throw them in the pool and say, good luck. You gently like put them in a life jacket, hold their hand, walk them in the water, teach them how to swim somewhere that they can stand. Like, you don't just shove them in the pool and say, good luck, you're in the deep end. That's not how our bodies respond well to stress. Like, we don't do that to children now. We don't teach our kids how to do things in that way, because that's not how the nervous system responds well. Nobody responds well to shock and like, and forced, whatever. So, when we're taking herbs, we need to be aware, especially in people with trauma or nervous system sensitivity, that easing into these feelings where we're changing nervous system states is a good idea. Okay. You can move through these 3 tools to consciously manage your wants, desires, and needs physically while parsing out where you get hold like a block or like a holdup. You can ask yourself, is this a full body? Yes. Your heart, your mind, your body. Or you can also reframe this, especially in particular, really focusing on what we're talking about tonight. What does my body need right now? What does my heart need right now? What does my mind need right now? Because they can need different things. Dip your toe in and reassess. If you hit a block, pull back, do 4-7-8 breathing, and then try dip your toe again. When you're feeling drained, anxious, or you don't know what you want or need, these can give us clarity and help us to take our next steps. Can I get a show of like, you got it? Okay, cool. Also, I did mean to say this, because I'm a functional herbalist and I'm trained in diet, supplements, lifestyle, and herbs, you're going to be hard pressed to get a hardcore herb only webinar from me. So sorry, not sorry. And herbs are not the only tool we have in our toolkits. And I think it's important that we make sure to honor and acknowledge all of the ways that we can help ourselves. Okay. So because we're here to talk about rebooting and like reprocessing, I just want to just spend a quick minute with a pen and paper, if you've got it, and do a little inventory. And I want you guys to really ask your body, does your body feel right now? It might be exhausted. It might be all you want to eat is a salad for 3 weeks. It might be that you're really tired of eggnog. What do you need for your body? It might need a walk. You might need exercise. You might need yoga. You might need a really specific, your body will tell you what it wants. Does it want a swim? Does it want yoga? Does it want water? Okay. So let's do this for our minds. What does your mind need? This could be, I'm so bored. I haven't been to work in a week and I'm feeling bored. I'm tired of watching Netflix. And what would feel good for my brain? A Sudoku puzzle, a crossword, a restful book, something super nerdy. You might be relishing in doing nothing. This is your permission slip to write, I want to lay in my bed with no sound, with sound canceling headphones and my weighted blanket. What does your mind need? Okay. So I find that the body and mind are a lot easier to do than the heart. Especially in the holidays. Like, it's real odd how loss and grief just come up. It's something about the transition, something about the holidays in general. It just seems to be a time where we really experience a lot of grief or loss. And I find that during anytime I'm doing this exercise, it's always easy to figure out what my body and my mind need, but it can be harder to figure out what my heart needs. And it also can kind of feel scary and or inaccessible. Like sometimes, we want to be like cuddled and held, but maybe we don't have a partner, or maybe we miss someone that's passed away. So, as we know, the best way to work with our feelings of emotional feelings of hurt and discomfort is to not ignore them. It's to sit with them. And so, really sitting and acknowledging, okay, I'm avoiding feeling sad about this person or this thing or this feeling or whatever, and then having a good cry about it. And then seeing if you can move into a place of radical acceptance, and then shifting into a different perspective around how you could get that need met. Brainstorming, calling a friend, coming up with an action plan, whatever you got. But yeah, so try to write what your heart is feeling and what your heart needs. Awesome. All right. Good job, everybody. So now that you have your list, I feel like you're going to be able to pull out the things that you want from this webinar a little easier. Okay. So I just want to introduce a concept, and this is going to be kind of nerdy, and I'm just going to read these because it is kind of nerdy. So, what herbs can teach our nervous systems? So we can literally and figuratively learn new ways of being through initiating different brain states and altering neural and physiological chemistry with botanicals. Okay, I'm going to just layman terms that out. So like, say in the example where I was talking about, sometimes people who have severe trauma don't feel good and comfortable in a calm state, and they actually physically have a difficult time getting into that state. I have a friend who had called me, and they wanted to experience more joy in their life, but they had a really hard time accessing that state. It was difficult for them to allow themselves to feel joy. And what's cool about herbal medicine is we can take a plant, feel alter our brain chemistry and our physiology and be able to experiment with getting into that brain state. And this is where, like, I don't necessarily see self-medication as a bad thing. I think it's just like it's a way that your brain is attempting to figure out what it needs, create a brain state that it is lacking or needs more of, and then doing that. I kind of liken this concept also to like mirror neurons. So if anybody's had kids, this is the best example that I have. My daughter, Ren, I was able to teach her to talk really early because she started babbling. And then anytime she'd say an almost word, I would say, look at my mouth. And she could move her mouth exactly how I move mine. And that's because that's how babies learn how to do everything. They use what's called mirror neurons, which basically are inborn copycat. So this is why kids mimic and mirror and repeat everything that they do, because they're trying on different ways of being. And our brain and nervous systems can mimic really precise movements and ways of doing things through watching. And we even see this with like the concept of memes on the internet, which are memes are contagious thought concepts. So you can also see this kind of in parallels with the physiological principle of co-regulation, where people can feel each other's energy and they co-regulate. And by energy, I literally mean like their pulse rate and breathing will sync up. This happens with in romantic partnerships. It happens in abusive partnerships. It happens in sorry everybody for the this can happen in back to the thought with infants and moms. So and children, when they're really upset, it's all about co-regulation. You want the adult, the adult's going to stay calm, the kid's going to pitch a fit, the adult remains calm and then helps to the child to co-regulate. So I think of plants as our base, the meme we catch, the co-regulation partner, or the subject of our mirror neuron mimicry. And so that's how they teach us. And I just think it's a really cool concept that I like to use and think about. So let's talk about burnout and exhaustion of the body. So I just wanted to talk about like some primary ways and things, general concepts of ways that our bodies get exhausted. So you can actually be exhausted, obviously, from sleep, lack of sleep, exercise and movement. The lack of it will decrease your mitochondrial function, decrease your blood flow, cause extra musculoskeletal tension, which eats up energy psychologically and physically in your mitochondria. Musculoskeletal tension will cause exhaustion kind of through that pathway where you're not moving, you get stressed, you get tense, and then you're using all of your energy in this like holding pattern. And it can be incredibly exhausting. Digestive dysfunction, and or like just sluggish digestion during the holidays from eating so much rich food, drinking a lot, just basically trashing our digestive systems. And then nutrient lack. So we, I can talk a lot about all of these things, but we do see, nutrient lack in kind of standard American diets, which is super common because we don't, through factory farming, our food is not as nutrient dense. And it can be really difficult to get a nutrient dense diet unless you really try. And I really try, and I still rely on vitamins and herbal teas and broths to make sure that I'm getting the nutrient density that I need in order for my body to be functioning well. So we're going to kind of talk about all of those things. So we can talk about sleep all day. I'm going to kind of breeze through this section. We know we need more of it. You should just experiment with tracking. If you're exhausted a lot and you're having a hard time sleeping, just start tracking how much sleep you have, and that will be enough sometimes to cause a behavior shift. And that's a really interesting like lifestyle coaching kind of hack, is just monitoring something will sometimes be enough to be like, oh my God, I got 6 hours of sleep and I felt terrible. And then you're like, I got 9 hours of sleep and I felt awesome. So male body people can sleep somewhere between 6 to 8 hours a night on average and feel okay. I've seen this clinically pan out and in work environments that male body people can go for longer with more severe sleep deprivation. Female body people need between 8 and 10 hours a night. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed this inside of a kind of heterosexual relationship, but male partner will just like be fine with 6 hours. Female partner will be like losing their mind on if they sleep the same as the male body person. Children and teens need access to 10 to 11 hours a night on average. Ren, this whole entire holiday, slept 11 to 12 hours. So it's just important. And then people with autoimmune diseases need 9 to 11 hours a night on average. Lack of sleep causes all sorts of issues, from fatigue, increased cravings for sweets, stress, tension, irritability, chronic inflammation, increased pain, and histamine issues. One of my sleep hacks, I have an autoimmune disease and I really struggle if I lose sleep. But one of the things that I figured out a long time ago is that if I lose sleep and I'm going to be trashed the next day, taking an anti-inflammatory and an antihistamine really helps to kind of lessen the severity of the negative impacts of that throughout my day. Oops, there's a typo, but oh well. So I use boswellia or isolated boswellic acid as an anti-inflammatory. You also can use a COX-2 inhibitor like ibuprofen or Advil. And then antihistamines, pardon me, antihistamine, holy basil is a great antihistamine. You can also look into low histamine diets or taking holy basil or a regular antihistamine. So yeah, those are some of my things for sleep. Some common causes of chronic sleep issues: sleep apnea. You can always try taping your mouth shut. Works like a champ, but much more effective or much cheaper than doing a sleep study and using a sleep apnea machine. Tension. A lot of people will lay down at night and just their body is just tense. So you can try valerian, passion flower, kava, blue vervain. 4-7-8 breathing works really great. And diaphragmatic breathing, where you're really thinking about that. Your diaphragm moving in and out while you're counting and doing your 4-7-8 breathing. Blood sugar issues will cause sleep issues. So focusing on your protein intake, sugar intake, and then trying high intensity intermittent interval training. That will regulate blood sugar. Histamine issues. If you're a chronic insomniac and Benadryl works for you, then you might want to look into mast cell activation issues. For a long time, I had hormonal and histaminic insomnia, and some of the like primary things that helped me were really focusing on mast cell activation issues. And sometimes I'll use Benadryl if I have to. Hormonal insomnia, trying progesterone cream, magnesium, B6, red clover, and hops. So this is insomnia around ovulation or insomnia right before menstruation, which is super common. But doing progesterone, high dose magnesium glycinate at 1,000 milligrams, B6 at 100 if you can. It'll give some people nausea. But doing 50 milligrams in the morning and 50 at night will really help with hormonal insomnia. And then red clover hops are estrogenic. So those can really help as well. General stress-based insomnia, I really like ashwagandha and skullcap. And we're going to talk more about both of skullcap in particular. See how we're doing on time. Oh my God, we have so much to cover. So there's nothing like the holidays to cause tension in the body because we have less time to move. We're around more frustrating people, possibly. We've got all this shopping to do and all these errands to run. And we know exercise is good for us. Brain, body, mind, aging, neuroregeneration, bone modeling, self-perception, the benefits go on. But you really can't manage or address tension and stress without exercise and movement. When we're stressed, we go through fight, flight, freeze, or appease. If nothing insanely stressful is happening, we're often chronically low-grade stressed, and that stress tends to stagnate as a freeze or appease response, which is like self-control. Like, I'm really irritated with this person. I'm clenching my teeth. I'm clenching my body. I feel really irritated. But I'm controlling myself. And when people are controlling themselves, they get tense. So if you're in situations where you're more irritated, you're going to have a freeze appease reaction, especially if it's not super stressful. And which freeze, it's a continuum. I'm sorry. You can have an incredibly intense freeze reaction for very stressful things. But we're kind of talking about low grade stress and tension here. But when we have all of this tension that we're holding due to these stressful events happening, and we don't off gas that stress and tension through physical exertion, it gets stored. So in order to finish the stress cycle where we get stressed by something, we hold tension, and then we release the tension, we have to exercise. It is part of our natural inborn system. That's why we have the flee response, because that is when we run away to get away from the stressful thing. It's part of our inborn system where we need to move our bodies in order to get rid of the excess stress. So finish the stress cycle every day by moving your body. So during the holidays, we have all this stress. I had these massive like shoulder issues. I was doing lobelia topically. I had to go swim at the Y, and then took a musculoskeletal relaxant tincture. And then I had to, what else did I do? I gave myself a back massage and I put lobelia on topically. Oh, somebody's drawing on our webinar. Whoopsie. So yeah, so manage your musculoskeletal tension through movement. So my top 2 herbs for musculoskeletal tension are lobelia and kava. I also, honorable mention is valerian. It's just about 20% of the population will have very stimulating effects from valerian. So that can be kind of an issue. But we're going to talk specifically about lobelia and kava. So lobelia is a relaxing stimulant. It's much like tobacco. So if you've ever smoked cigarettes, you know that it gives you a feeling of clarity, increased blood flow in your prefrontal cortex and over your entire body. There's a warming feeling and a softness, and then you get a relaxation of your smooth and skeletal muscles. This is why so many people smoke cigarettes, is because of nicotine is it is an alkaloid, much like lobelia. Its active ingredient is an alkaloid called lobeline. Lobeline and nicotine behave very similarly in the body. They are stimulating relaxants. They short circuit physiological trauma responses. It's very common in trauma responses to lose prefrontal cortex and to have all of your blood flow shunted to your primary organs, and for hyperventilation to happen, and for your vasodilation to happen, or vasoconstriction, sorry. Smoking cigarettes increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, causes deeper breathing, and causes blood flow to the extremities. If you love to smoke because it short circuits that response, switch to lobelia, because lobelia is amazing. And it does all of those things. I use lobelia topically. It's insanely good for tension headaches. I often have tension headaches, and I'll just put the lobelia, the tincture, it's called, using it as a liniment is when you put a tincture on topically. You put it on your head on all of the like points that are tense and tight, and then all on the back of your neck, wherever you're feeling tension, and lobelia will soak in and relax. You can also take it orally. So it works really great for diaphragmatic constriction. When people have sliding hiatal hernias, when people have got back or neck pain, anywhere that we've got muscle spasm and tension in the body, we can use lobelia topically and internally. I travel with lobelia in my backpack everywhere that I go. It is a low dose botanical, so you do small amounts. If you take too much, you'll throw up. It does taste a bit like bile in the back of your throat. I also use it regularly as a cough suppressant. So Ren hates it, but when I've run out of cough medicine, we've had this bad cough lately, and I ran out of wild cherry and wasn't able to go to the storage unit and get any more. And so I just used lobelia and honey. I just put honey on a spoon, add 5 drops of lobelia, wake her up, give it to her. It tastes terrible, but it's in honey. So anywhere between 5 and 20 drops. I find higher doses of lobelia to be incredibly stimulating, and I've lost sleep taking too much of it. Pardon me. Okay. Kava, Piper methysticum. Kava is a Polynesian root. It is used and was traditionally used in ceremonies to support people in amicably resolving conflict. So it makes you feel really happy, relaxed, and calm, and very grounded. It's really specific to musculoskeletal tension anywhere in the body. It is really yummy in a bath. For my own tension, headaches, stress, whatever, I often, with tension comes this kind of pattern where you're tense, it hurts, you grip, it causes more tension, it causes more pain, and you get in this cycle. And so we want to interrupt the cycle, which is why we're using herbs. So kava topically and internally is really fabulous. I put about one ounce of kava tincture is expensive. It's about probably $14 to $16 on the herb market. As an herbalist, I'm going to be fine dumping an ounce of tincture in the bath. So you might want to make your own kava tincture, but putting about an ounce in the bathtub and then just soaking in it will relax your tension like exponentially. It's insane. You also can use it. It works like a benzodiazepine. So it's a relaxing, calming, sedating plant. I love having kava with me for parties, because I don't like to drink, and drinking makes me feel bad. And so I use kava to kind of get in the party atmosphere. I have something fun to drink that's a little bit different. It makes me feel really loose and happy and gregarious and outgoing. And it's a great kind of stopgap for social anxiety. And it's also kind of a harm reduction thing. So you can do kava instead of drinking if drinking is a problem for you. You don't need to pair it with a benzodiazepine. So because they work similarly. And I have used kava to help people get off of benzodiazepines, but that requires a little bit more detail than I want to go into right now. Kava traditionally extracts well in water and fat. Generally, it's going to be extracted in like a butter base or coconut milk is real common. I have made a really great 50-50 alcohol water extract of kava that was really effective. But overall, it does really great in water with that. Digestive bitters. So during the holidays, we eat a whole bunch of fatty foods and alcohol and sweets, and it's fun. And then we exit Christmas and all we want is a salad. So digestive bitters are a really great way to soothe this upset stomach. They support digestive, liver, and gallbladder function. They regulate blood sugar and appetite, and they can help you recover from the use of antibiotics, overeating, and the stomach flu. It's something that I think that if I could get Americans to do anything, it would be to take digestive bitters and to exercise more, and to take nutritive tonic teas. So the fastest, easiest way to get access to this is to buy digestive bitters from an herbalist, and or you can just go to the grocery store and look for drink bitters. So Angostura bitters, any kind of bitters that you would see used by a bartender in an alcoholic drink, you just take those and put them in water and drink them. So you can do that before your meals is best because it stimulates digestion and regulates appetite. And then you can also take it after if the meal was heavy, or you feel bad after the meal, or you've got a stomach ache, or something with the meal didn't sit well. Like a couple weeks ago, I made cornbread. I used Aldi's cornbread, and something about it upset my stomach for days. And I was just doing bitters and bone broth and trying to get my stomach back to a good place. So digestive bitters are an incredible tool. And like I said, they make sweet things taste less sweet. So then you eat less of them. It's like everyone should take bitters. Often bitter herbal combinations are things like gentian, cinnamon, bitter orange, yellow dock, yellow root. I could go on. Bitters, bitter plants. There are so many bitter plants. I can do a whole class for 3 hours on digestive bitters and bitter plants. But look for Angostura bitters or some other drink bitters, or find a local herbalist who's making bitters and get some. A good way to add, let's see, we talked about that already. Nutrient-dense herbs and foods. So our bodies can't function without nutrients that we need, minerals and vitamins, and it really can be difficult to maintain a good diet in the modern world. So I lean heavily on vitamins, green powders, mineral-rich broths, and teas to help me bridge the dietary gaps. This recipe will be accessible for you. So this is my Mighty Minty Mineral Tea. It's energetically balanced, meaning that it has some plants that are moistening, some plants that are drying, and it balances all of those out. It's a sweet tea. It's a cold infusion, and it's really lovely. So you guys should make this. It's really lovely. I do this when I'm on my best behavior. I do this every morning, and that just makes sure that I'm getting minerals that I need, like boron, zinc, copper, manganese, molybdenum. Those are the kind of nutrients that are in these plants. So alfalfa, marshmallow, horsetail, red raspberry, cilantro, plantain, dandelion, and peppermint. And yeah, it's a great formulation. Bone broth booster. This is another one that's really great to just add to your bone broth. So make bone broth, cook a chicken carcass, add horsetail and nettle, parsley, chickweed, dandelion, wood ear mushrooms, or any kind of mushrooms, turkey tail, burdock root, kudzu root, and wild onion or onion period. And then you can do the normal stuff like carrots and onions and celery, anything that's got minerals. And it's just a good way to kind of sneak more nutrients into your diet. Every time you make soup, you're going to have this broth that's incredible with extra nutrients in it. So like I said, you'll have access to this. So burnout and exhaustion of the mind. We cannot not talk about exercise and sleep. So I don't know about what you guys came up with for how you're feeling mentally right now, but I definitely had experience during the holidays, need for a sensory break. Also had kind of a busy mind. I had a little bout of irritation, and then I really needed some sleep. So you might, You might be needing more solitude or more quiet. You might need movement and simple foods. You might be feeling bored. So these are all things, we have to exercise in order to help our mind feel good. We need enough sleep to help our mind feel good. And then everything else is on top. So passion flower is one of my favorite things for a busy, overactive mind. And I think it's just such an interesting plant because it is so wild looking. And it is really specific. It's just so calming. Passion flower is very wildly herself. And when I was writing a monograph about passion flower, I'll just read to you what I wrote. So she's wildly herself, unlike anything else. She couldn't hide if she wanted to. I think that might be the lesson. I'm reminded of a Mary Oliver poem, "Let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." In her truth to herself, her wild and unrepressed expression, she reminds us to remember the experiences of singularity that only come from listening to and living the song of our souls. So, you look at a fire, you have that moment of peace. You see a storm rolling in, same thing. When we're allowed to and able to be in touch with the wildness of ourselves, we get still. And I think that passion flower really is particularly adept at calming the mind, and giving us that kind of grounded, centered, at peace feeling. So I often choose to formulate with passion flower when people have circular thoughts. They are wired and tired. So you lay down, but you're like, I'm ready to rest. And then you just lay there and you're just so overstimulated. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced that, where maybe you moved and you are exhausted, but you lay down, pardon me, you lay down in this new house and you're like, it's a new smell and I don't have my bed here and the light is different and the kids are somewhere different and I don't hear them in their normal place and the animals are all weird and you're just overstimulated and you can't sleep. I often use this with people. It's really specifically indicated for circular thoughts that feel intense. So, and circular thoughts are thoughts that, you start with, I need to go to the grocery store tomorrow. And then you think for 45 minutes and then you come back to, I need to go to the grocery store tomorrow. It's just these ruminating kind of unhelpful thoughts. Anytime that you're having sort of laying there ruminating about the same thing that you've been ruminating on for the last 15 years. So yes, really great plant for that. Ruminating, feeling keyed up, wound up, and anxious. So the way passion flower works is it works on GABA receptors. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter in the brain. It's found in every neurological cell in the body. And we see GABA dysfunction and GABA pathway dysfunction in things like seizures, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, anxiety, depression, insomnia, which is interesting because passion flower has been used for anxiety, depression, insomnia, facial tics and twitches for years, like hundreds of years being used by humans for those things. So I always enjoy when science backs up what herbalists have been doing for a long time. It's always fun. So a tincture dosage of passion flower is going to be 20 to 90 drops 3 times a day. It is safe in pregnancy. You need to use small amounts though. Blue vervain. So blue vervain is particularly lovely for an overactive mind. It's really specific to tight neck and shoulders. It works really well in people who find themselves in nervous system states that resemble intensity or fanaticism. These people, compared to passion flower, there's an intensity to a blue vervain personality where there's mental rigidness causing physical tension. These people tend to be more dictatorial, overly rigid, with sky-high expectations of perfection. These people, the people that respond stereotypically really well to blue vervain and notice intense effects from it, tend to have like this masculine energy a little bit more than passion flower people do. There's just like a tension and a rigidity. I'm very much a blue vervain personality. Blue vervain really helps to teach us that we can still be productive in a more gentle space, and that in a more relaxed pace. It can help us balance our to-dos and our relationship to ourselves and others while being productive. So I don't know if you know anybody like this, but where they will sacrifice their relationships to get stuff done. Where they don't make a lot of room for people's feelings and or needs. It's very much they're into what is happening. We have these things we have to do. We don't have time for a temper tantrum. We don't have time for your mood. We don't have time for anything. We just have to do what we've got to do. So blue vervain helps me make time for more play, curiosity, cuddles, and fun while being a boss. Blue vervain is an interesting plant in that you can use a drop for a person that it's really specifically indicated for, and they will have a very intense reaction. If 1 to 7 drops somebody doesn't really notice, you need to bump it up to a higher dose, like 20 to 30 drops. Too much blue vervain will make people nauseous. So that's something. It's incredibly bitter, but works like a champ. Love me some blue vervain. Skullcap. Skullcap is great as a nerve tonic. Nothing that we've talked about has been. Uh-oh, we got sorry. Skullcap. It is a nerve tonic. So we haven't talked about nerve tonics yet. Nerve tonics are herbs that will change how resilient your nervous system is over time. That means that you can stop taking Skullcap after taking it for 6 months, and it will drastically have changed how you and your nervous system relate to stress. Skullcap can help calm brain function. It's helpful for insomnia and chronic stress. People that resonate with Skullcap often describe that they feel frazzled, that they're at the end of their rope. When somebody says, I'm at the end of my rope and I'm feeling frazzled, I'm having a difficulty concentrating, I'm really stressed out. And they start saying things like, when I'm tired, the light is so bright, the sounds are so loud, then you go for Skullcap. So as a dry plant extract, you're going to get like as in you get the herb, you dry it, and then you tincture it. It's going to be more indicated for sleep. It is not as much of a nerve tonic unless it is made as a fresh tincture. So you go get it fresh, make it, and then that is a better nerve tonic. So look for, when you're buying Skullcap tinctures, you want fresh tincture. It is safe in breastfeeding and pregnancy. Your tincture dosage is going to be 10 to 40 drops 3 to 5 times a day. Generally, you need about 20 drops 3 times a day to get the nerve tonic action. Okay. Burnout and exhaustion of the heart. So often heart exhaustion during the holiday season comes from grieving the family we don't have, or not being truly seen by the family that we do have, grieving family or relationships we've lost, grieving past iterations of the holidays. I don't know about you guys, but that's been a thing for me for a couple years. My grandmother passed away, and it really changed the holiday. And there wasn't really somebody to kind of hold it together and boss everybody around. So, it's really changed our holidays, and so that's hard, and I'm still kind of going through that. But yeah, so what do we do when we're having those feelings? So I think it's really important when we leave situations with people that stress us out or people that we have a hard time getting along with, It's important that we find and spend time with people that see us, that deeply care for us, and we deeply care for them, and they get us. They deeply get us. So, it can be really disorienting when you're around family and they just don't understand you as a person. It can be kind of dissociating. And I think it's a pretty normal reaction to like have that happen and then to isolate, but it's not the best way to go about things. Best way to do it is call your best friend, call the person that you get along with the best in the world, and spend some really good quality time and really help them, feel seen again, feel recognized as the person that you are now. When you don't have immediate access to somebody who you have a reciprocal caring relationship for, you can do a loving kindness meditation, which is great. It can help tide you over until you have that need met. If you've never done a loving kindness meditation, it starts with you and then it works towards externally towards other relationships, people in the world. So it can be initially like, I love me. I hope that I am healthy, happy, and loved. And then you pick somebody that you love deeply and you do it for them. And then you pick somebody that you have a hard time with, you have difficult relationship with, and you do it for them. And then you do it for the world. And so it's a great way to kind of short circuit that nervous system state and those neurological pathways where we get into where we're like, I don't have anybody, I'm not feeling loved, I'm not feeling seen, I'm isolating. And then we get in this kind of loop. Obviously doing those things is easier said than done. But we all are just baby stepping it here. And then also if you're really stuck in your head and you're really having a hard time feeling seen, go spend some time doing some volunteer activities. There's really nothing like shifting your focus away from yourself and towards others in a service way that really can help that. As far as herbs go, hawthorn is an incredible remedy for grief and sadness, heartbreak, and heart boundaries. It is incredible for the physical heart and the energetic heart. So the physical heart being like, it's an anti-inflammatory to the cardiovascular system. It's highly antioxidant. It's tonic. It's really incredible for any cardiovascular problem where we're seeing heart weakness, from congestive heart failure to valve issues. I can go on. But it also is incredible for the energetic heart. And it's really interesting because it's a spiky plant. And so you have to approach it with respect. You don't just get to be in hawthorn space and love it and take its berries and use it all up. You have to be incredibly respectful and aware of it. And so I think that really teaches us how to love with boundaries, and to be a little bit more self-protective. And I've also used it in situations where there's a lot of grief, sadness, or heartbreak. So yeah, it's really a lovely remedy. Hawthorn is safe in pregnancy. You can take it in large amounts. I love it as a jam. Its berries, flowers, and leaves are all medicinal. And then we come to my favorite. Mimosa is basically a euphoric. It's serotonergic, so you feel it really in the front of your brain. It is very uplifting. It makes you feel, if you take a lot of the flower, you'll feel very spacey and silly and wine drunk. One time I was teaching about mimosa. I was spending a lot of time with it, and I took a bunch of it before I got in the car to drive to my storage unit. But I was thinking about where I was going to ship out all my packages. And I was thinking, oh, okay, well, I could go to the post office, but I think I'm going to go to the UPS store. So on on autopilot, drove to the UPS store instead of driving to my storage unit, which I was supposed to be going to, because mimosa makes you so happy and spacey and just like, just silly. It's just a silly plant. It is one of the best herbal antidepressants. I'm just gonna say it's the best herbal antidepressant. The bark is much more grounding and intensely different experience than the flower. The flower is very euphoric, very fuzzy headed. I use it in, I have a formula called red wine, which I use as like an alcohol replacement. I put it in mocktails when I'm going to a party. It's a very party-like experience tincture. And I use mimosa flower in that. I also use it for if I'm trying to sit down and write and I'm having writer's block, and the writer's block is due to me feeling like I don't have anything to say and that everybody's already said all the things and feeling really mean towards myself. I use it for self-deprecation. I use 3/4 of the bark tincture and then a 1/4 of the flower. And it makes you grounded and clear and happy and like very able to access yourself. I like it in that balance better than I like it just the flower, unless I'm going for like a euphoric, silly experience. I often use it for grief, loss, and depression, with a focus on those that become bitter, jaded, and emotionally stuck. So say you've been processing something for a while, your brain feels like it's in this tunnel, in this pathway, and you can't seem to change the channel. And you're ready to move through your grief, but you're having a hard time. You're just feeling jaded, stuck, bitter. I love using mimosa to kind of help the person sort of jump the rails and do a different thing with their brain. It's real common with human beings in a modern world to kind of have a hard time connecting with themselves or others, and then also being a little bit volatile and irritable because of grief. And I really like using mimosa kind of for that indication. One thing that I really like about mimosa is that it doesn't numb people and cause emotional constipation. I think we've all experienced instances where processing emotions feel hard or scary, and mimosa can really bolster us in looking at and dealing with and working through our big emotions that feel scary. I definitely think of mimosa as a plant that allows us to stop fighting the discomfort and stop thinking through and trying to make sense of the emotion and just feel them, so that you can kind of pass through them. One time I taught a class, it's just a fun like anecdotal story. I taught a class on calming the monkey mind. We used mimosa. We did passion flower, mimosa, and kava. And mimosa, I gave everybody a large dose, like 2 to 3 droppers full of mimosa flower. And within about 4 minutes, everyone just started smirking and then laughing hysterically. And at nothing, like nothing funny happened in the class. Like we all just started cackling hysterically. And that's because mimosa is just so uplifting. So it's just a lovely, lovely plant. So yeah, I want to talk about tea ritual as a lifeline for us in our daily lives, to utilize it as a way to check in and see how we're feeling. So especially if you have access to a lot of herbs, or you're, if you've been in this for a while, or you want to get into it more, I love doing a tea ritual in the morning. So I get up, I have a bunch of different loose leaf herb, not tea, not like separate kinds of tea. You can do this a different way. Like you don't have to be so hardcore. This is just like because I'm an herbalist. If you want to use, you have a bunch of different kinds of teas, go through and smell the plant material, make your own tea, and or choose, really specifically spend time and ask your body, what does it need? Does it need a nutrient dense tea? Are you feeling a little blue? Do you need a little caffeine? Do you need a little bit of something moistening? It's a great way to check in with your body, see what you need, see where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and then address it physically with herbs. And I think that doing a tea ritual is a really lovely way to just kind of check in on your feelings, utilize what you know about herbs, and be able to access it on a daily basis. And then create space for yourself to actually do it, which I think is important. I like doing a tea ritual in the morning. And then I also do a mocktail ritual at night. So this is a holy basil mocktail that I made this past summer. And sometimes I'll just go around, walking around the yard and get a couple of things that will pair well together, put some soda water on it, and maybe bitters or a little simple syrup or a little bit of lavender syrup or a tincture here or there, and make a little mocktail. I often, in different iterations of doing this, I would often just have a row of different nervine tinctures and be like, okay, today my mind feels a little scattered. I'm feeling stressed physically. I'm feeling kind of frazzled. So I'm going to pick passion flower, skullcap, and blue vervain, put it in my mocktail, and then have my little mocktail and have a nice way to kind of connect what I'm feeling with a solution for it in a way that is healthy. A lot of times we just kind of default to a drink like alcohol or whatever. And I'm very like pro harm reduction, but also pro like address the issue for what it is. Don't band-aid it. And so when you're using herbs and you're using them like this, I think it's a really great way to go about kind of adding that in. So yeah. So that's the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you'll stick on, we'll stay on for questions. If you have those, you can drop them in the chat. In case you're interested in learning more from me, I'm actively filling up the January 2023 foraging and medicine making intensive. It's an in-person course, and we meet at Tannehill State Park. We meet 1 weekend per month. We make over 20 types of different preparations. I walk you through it. There's a lot of hands-on experience. We go on a plant walk every single time that we meet so that you're recognizing plants throughout the season. So we start in January and end in April. And so you get to take plant walks through, 2 different seasons, which is amazing. And that's a really neat thing about the program. By the end of the course, you have a crazy amount of herb. So this was 1 day of class, this picture. We did a facial oil, a solid perfume, a muscle rub, a sinus, basically like a neti pot, but with oil. It's called a nasya. It's an Ayurvedic preparation. And then I have no idea what that jar in the middle is. I think Stacy, who took this picture, is in the class, or she could maybe tell us what that was. It might be salve. But yeah, so you end up with a crazy medicine chest when you're finished with class. I teach for about 48 hours. So I teach you preparations, pitfalls, how to make things. We go forage for plants and then we make medicine from them. It's an incredible experience, in part because you get, with this class, it's great and you learn, but you haven't tasted passion flower with me right in the moment. You didn't make medicine from it right there after you foraged for it. So it's really an incredible experience, because that's really the best way to learn herbs and learn herbal medicine is by doing hands-on. I've been writing this course. It has run 10 times. I've been writing this course for whoever is writing. Oh, Sugar Scrub, Stacy. Stacy's writing on her class that was the Sugar Scrub in that last picture that I asked. This one right here is Sugar Scrub. Hilarious. Thanks, Stacy. So the course material now is about 250 pages of course material, and we do quizzes so that you retain the material. We review the material every time. And I've been honing it for a long time. So it's really a great course. This is the schedule. We meet 4 weekends. So Saturday, Sunday starts January 21st and 22nd. Next weekend is February 18th and 19th. Third weekend is March 18th and 19th. And fourth weekend is the April 15th and 16th. We go, it's both Saturday and Sunday, classes from 9:30 until 3. And we cover foraging and botany, introduction to herbal medicine, water-based preparations, foraging and botany again, tea blending and formulating, tinctures, oil-based preparations, essential oils, glycerin-based extracts, and food as medicine and sour medicine. So it's an incredible class. I'd love to have you in it. If you're interested, I will send in the chat the link for the website to register. And I have not very many spots left. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. I'd love to have a full class this time. Generally, it does fill up. But I've got a couple spots left. So if you want to do that, you just go to the website and then join in and hit how to register. And then I'm losing my words because I'm getting tired. But go join that and then pay the registration and do your registration form, and then I'll reserve your spot for the course. And I actually see there's a good many graduates of the program in this class right now. So shout out if you have taken the class. Yeah. Okay. I'd love to hear questions about the material. So shoot them into the chat box if you want. I'd love anybody to. The class is going to be Tannehill State Park. It's a really great location because people can camp or stay in cabins or bring their RV. And then also it's really near to Birmingham and Tuscaloosa for that matter. So if you're interested, yeah. So Tannehill State Park. Let's see. Jennifer asked, do you sell Mimosa Ambrosia? I do and I don't. I don't actively sell tinctures anymore. Joanna and Trevor Mann with Walden Pharmacy are a great resource. I also have the Herbal Materia Medica monthly subscription program that I often will, I ship out herb to people. So if anybody's interested in that, I also have that program. Do different bitters do different things? Yes. So we have specifically what we call them specific indications. So I'm sorry. So like say somebody's prone to stomach ulcers, I'm going to be using yellow root because it has berberine and it's really specific to H. pylori, which is a common cause of stomach ulcers. Bitter orange peel is going to be carminative. So if somebody has gas and they have slow digestion, like they have a hard time pooping regularly, citrus essential oils are great for moving the bowels and causing peristaltic function, which is like the wiggles in your gut that help move all the food down. The wiggles in your gut. It's a technical term. Let's see other examples. Burdock is a great bitter that I would specifically use for people who are having issues with hormone dysfunction, processing and digesting their own hormones in their body, and or issues with fat. So if they're not processing fats well, like they have dry skin, they smell fat and get nauseous. or if they're eating plenty of fat, but they have a lot of hangnails, that is often a fatty acid deficiency. And a lot of times people are taking fish oil, eating fat, but they're not processing it. And so they're not absorbing it. So there's a lot of specific indications for different kinds of bitters. Reishi is another one. If somebody's got some autoimmunity, they like chocolatey flavors, they need some tonic action, and they also have sluggish digestion, I'm going to be using reishi. So the link to the class I will post again. Let's see. The cost for the class, Brenda, the cost for the class is $1,200. I always let people do payment plans. So you pretty much can just, like, I ask that at least, I like for people to be half paid by the time the course, I like for people to be full paid by the time the class is halfway through, but because you would be signing up kind of late in the game. Sometimes people will sign up like in October for the January course. So that works for them, but I'm more flexible when it's kind of this late in the game. But generally I just let people do their own payment plans because I want it to be accessible for people. So yeah, let's see. So Brenda asked, can you speak to the length of effects of mimosa and passion flower and other herbs as well? So this is not always true, but really specifically to nervines, they tend to work in a 4-hour window. So, and this is something that you have to experiment with yourself, but generally herbalists will recommend 3 doses of nervine herbs because they work in about 4 to 5 hour windows. And so if somebody is having like breakthrough anxiety doing 3 times a day, then we're going to up it to like 5. But mimosa commonly 3 to 4 hours, passion flower, 3 to 4 hours. I noticed kava will hit me really hard and will last for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then it will start to wear off and I'll be like, it's not a party anymore. Like, do I want to go home and drive, or do I want to party more and take more? And it'll be another 40 minutes before, like I can drive again. So it kind of depends. It really honestly depends very specifically on your metabolic rate, which herbalists talk about as constitution, or like, you'll hear people say like, you're a flower constitution. That means like you can take a drop of chamomile tincture and you like fall asleep under the kitchen table drooling. Or like there's a horse, you hear like, they have the digestion of a horse. It's like people that can drink like a whole bunch of alcohol or a whole bunch of coffee or take a whole bunch of herb and they don't notice anything. So you're going to generally, by this age that we are humans, know what you're going to be. I'm tend to be kind of a mid-grade / sensitive person. And so, yeah, I tend to ease myself onto nervines, do small doses, and then feel how I'm feeling. And then if I feel like I can take more, I take more. Let's see. What about for likely overly fast digestion, leaky gut type digestion? So we generally, if somebody is having digestive spasm and rapid digestion, generally we go for antispasmodics like wild yam. And then you go for really very healing herbs. So things like calendula, plantain, and stay away from peppermint and stay away from the citrus family and anything irritating. So yeah, I have like a tea recipe that I'll use for people that's like commonly calendula to heal the gut, plantain to heal the gut, wild yam for spasm, a little teeny touch of lobelia, and that generally will really help people. You also want to add a bitter in there to help with gut flora. So something like yellow dock or an anti-infective, if they can stomach it and it doesn't like, if the taste decrease it. If the taste is so bad that it decreases the amount of time that they're willing to drink it or take it. Like my goal is always like, how do we get as much in you as possible? If you're the person that's going to be like, oh yeah, it tastes bad, but it's good for me, so I'm going to do it, then you can do more bitter in there. But if they are the person that's like, it tastes bad, I'm never going to drink this, then I tend to formulate a little bit softer and make it a little more tasty. So things like rose petals and rose petals as astringent. And yeah, so digestive healing, gut flora support, antispasmodic, and soothing, moistening kind of tend to be what I do. Let's see. You sent the link to the class just to me. Whoops. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I'm just direct messaging one person. That's fun. Oh no, guys. I don't know how to make it go away. Everyone in meeting. Oh, good. Okay, here we go. Okay, perfect. Sorry, everyone. Thank you. Okay. IBS and body inflammation. So we did talk about IBS a little bit with Alice or Lisa's question. So you're going to be doing a similar teak or combination where it's anti-inflammatory, digestive, bitter, antispasmodic, and moistening, soothing, relaxing herb. With physical body inflammation can be one of the most difficult things because it's so broad spectrum and there's a million ways to go about it. If somebody has systemic irritation and inflammation, oftentimes I'll go straight for putting them on an autoimmune paleo diet. And then I start looking at histamine issues. And then I recommend that they sleep a whole lot. And then I start there. And then when we get their baseline, where I don't think it's mast cell activation issues, and I don't think that it's a food allergy, and they're sleeping enough, those are like the primary things I have to rule out before I can start sussing out the hundreds of other things it can be. So I know that might not be helpful, but it is actually helpful. Like go buy an autoimmune paleo. I like autoimmune. Let's see. It's Diane Sanfilippo Practical Paleo. I'll type it in. So she has a diet book that is a very simple, she has dietary prescriptions for all sorts of issues. So it's great if you're kind of trying to play whack-a-mole with what you think is going on with yourself. So Practical Paleo is great because it has blood sugar regulation diet, autoimmune diet, but if you're having full systemic body inflammation, then you're going to want to do autoimmune paleo protocol. And that's a good one across the board. Like Diane Sanfilippo's book also has like digestive issues and complaints, like whoever asked me about. Yeah. So Rebecca, you mentioned IBS. And then we had some questions from Alice and Lisa. So yeah, get that one and then go and start with like whatever issue is irking you the most, that is the most specific to the diet plan that she's got, then go for that. Okay. Thanks, Nick. Yeah. So waldenpharmacy.com is where I would recommend buying herb. Awesome. Any more questions? Yeah, so for herbs, you're going to go to Walden Pharmacy. They're friends of mine and they make great medicine. So yeah. So y'all keep in touch. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I'd love some information or, feedback from you guys. And if you'd like to see other webinars, what kind of things are you guys interested in seeing? I have a bunch of classes written, so I can do these all the time. I pretty much every month do my top 5 herbs of the month, just as like a nice thing to people can join in on. So that kind of is a nice thing for seasonal stuff. You can kind of every single time that you come on, it'll be a different month, it'll be a different time of season, and then I give you 5 plants to kind of go look for. And so that's kind of a fun class that I offer regularly. And the next one will be January, the 1st to 2nd week of January, and I'll be on all my social media. So awesome. Thank you so much. Love you guys. All right. Y'all have a good night. Like I said, you'll get the recording tomorrow morning. Okay. Awesome. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.